Engineer Michael.
Engineer K.
How are you doing this evening?
Chill.
Okay, so to get started, let's start with your unique path. You know, you moved from marketing communications, which is about telling a story to the user, and now you're in product design, which is about creating a story with the user. So, do you want to tell us how that shift, as you know, that shift in perspective has influenced the design process, right? Moving from marketing to product design. That's the first part of the question. And the second part is, what from your marketing communications toolkit, right, have you found to be unexpectedly important in your design work?
Okay, so let me go from the top. So, marketing comes for me was passion, right? Fresh out of school, I loved copywriting. And so I thought I was going to work in advertising, ATL. So I'd always worked towards that. But I think my NYC days, I fell in love with experiential marketing. So I was very much inclined with putting events together, getting brands to sell their markets with a wider audience. So I remember that I think the first time I ever had to write a pitch deck was a project that we needed to do with the Lagos State government. This was in 2017. It was called the EAT Experience. I'd never written a deck as mad as that before. So now I have the designer who's supposed to design the deck. I have the business person who's supposed to come up with ways at which we want to make money. So she was busy coming up with ideas on exhibitions and stuff. So I had to sit down, write a pitch deck to Uber, to Bolt, to Coca-Cola, Pepsi. So we're working. So if I write a deck, I'm writing to both competitors so that we know which one comes first. That's pretty much how it was. And I realized that half the time in comms, we were always trying to tell the brands that we understood who their users were because we had worked in the market. I'd done open trade in supermarkets. I'd done activations in bars and lounges. I'd gone for almost every club event in Lagos. I was a night walker. My friends are here. I didn't have a life. So, but coming into design, it was super easy for me because it's the same user, but different use cases at this point. So there's a physical product and there's a digital product. How you sell a digital product is different from how you sell a physical product, but not so far-fetched. Because at the end of the day, there's still a framework to sell into them. So when people talk about research in design, it's not new. Because in marketing, we invest millions to get people to go to different locations in the country to get us data so that we can write a 120 to 160 page PDF to clients who are trying to get on board. So it wasn't hard. So it was easy for me. The other part in design, for me, was designing. Right. A lot of people do not know, but I started designing way back 2010 with CorelDRAW. I was good at it. But I wasn't so moved by it. It wasn't something I think I wanted to do in the long run because I was still in school and I was designing for church, designing for some people that had businesses when I was in my underlevel in 2010. So I stopped designing actively in 2015. But now coming into product design, it's a different world entirely. It's not graphics design. So how then do I navigate it? That was where the problem started. So we'll leave that for another journey. But what has helped me so far is the fact that I understand frameworks and I understand how to apply them.
So fundamentally, you're saying that number one, the fact that you understood how to sell,
you
understood frameworks, and you understood how to apply them. And research, very, very important.
Yes.
Which is something that a lot of designers don't do often.
Maybe they do research. But like I said, there has to be a framework to research.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us here spend time online. To be fair, if I want to know about Victor, the typical person in this room will go on Google and type Victor. And then Google gives you this. But how then do you drill down to who Victor is? So there's Victor as Victor. There's also Victor as a husband. There's also Victor as a designer. There's also Victor as someone that goes to a church. There's also Victor that stays in districts. So I have to drill down.
That's where the framework comes.
That's where framework comes into play. It's not just Victor on Google. So there's frameworks that you have to create, and that's what guides you into getting the actual output or result that you need.
I think that's very, very interesting. Because thinking about it from a framework perspective, it also needs to tie to the value and the goal that your company is selling. Yeah, that's a key one.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. So the next one is, you're in a unique position. You're leading design at a company that's building financial infrastructure. A simple confession is, sometimes I try to wrap my head around what you guys do. Right. I know that you guys play in financial technology, right? At least one of the things you guys do. So, it's not a typical consumer app, right? So what drew you to Multigate? And maybe you can start by telling us what Multigate does.
Okay.
So
followed
by,
I wish there was a screen here. I would have played a video for you that sort of speaks to that, because I worked on the video. So think about finance, but not from your day-to-day, I move money to Bolu, 5,000 naira, or I move money to Anayo, 10,000. I think Anayo understands what we do. So, but think about it from a more elaborate point of view. A business that does business across the world, that wants to move money in large sum to the world. There are a lot of complications with that. There are a lot of regulatory issues. There are a lot of policies that you need to understand. There are partnerships that you need to get on board, right? Him as Temitayo wanting to move 5 naira to someone in Ghana will not be as complicated as you as Victor wanting to move $1 billion to Ghana. It's money, but now we're talking volume. We're talking rails. We're talking processes.
It's like KYC in your typical fintech app. They're different.
So there's a lot, but for Multigate, we are like that's OS. We are the operating system that businesses can nest upon. So we build the infrastructure for you to make those things happen. So we take the burden of going through the process of understanding the markets, understanding the policies, the regulatory policies that you need to adhere to, and then we build for you. And then you just come take whatever we're giving to you from an API standpoint and then implement it.
So it's not like that thing where if I want to send 1 million from my fintech app and I have to just provide my ID. That's not enough.
No. Which is why I say people think, so when people hear fintech, people always think fintech is B2C. There's fintech as B2G.
True. Very true.
Exactly. So fintech in itself is a body name. How you distill it now matters depending on the kind of service that you offer. There are people who offer services that just take our API, connect. We help you screen your clients.
That's interesting. It's a very, very solid niche, actually.
Yeah, I can't go too deep,
Obviously,
but
no.
I promise you, take your time and research about Multigate. You would love it. You understand it. Not in our last term, but you will love it.
Okay, so the next question is, what attracted Multigate, or you to Multigate?
Okay, so I was a number at this time, and Aruna is here. Aruna was my boss at number before I left. And I was working on the business banking side. This number had it way good, way before Money Point. I would say it anytime, anywhere, because they had a structure. And I was designing for it. And number, I just became a star boy. And I didn't want to leave. So I had typical talent, I had this hope that if I stay here, it goes up. In 2023, January, my friend noticed, I don't know where your pride is coming from, but bro, you have to be exceptional for someone to be on your case this long. So I sent him a message and then I'm like, okay, let's talk. And then we jumped on the call. Now, mind you, this guy is someone who, I think that's one person as a CTO that has spoken to me, and in layman terms, I understood what he was saying. He didn't go all this whole complicated shit.
It's a very rare skill, actually.
He explained Multigate to me, and I knew that two things. I am either going to go to Multigate and become so good at what I do, or I go to Multigate and flop. because it's a new market. It's not like a new market, but it's a new adventure for me.
Yep.
I'm coming from where the typical, we're designing for VAT, we're designing for local transfers, we're designing for POS processing, we're designing for stores and outlets. So I understood that system. Like I feel like I always tell my friend, if you wake me up today, tomorrow, I can actually design for that space without thinking twice. But now I'm coming to a space where it is heavy on compliance. Very heavy. I've never met with him before. I've never had to speak to compliance all my life. I've never had to speak with legal. I've never had to be on the table. Like Aaron said, I've always had to be an operational guy. Now you're telling me that come here and lead the team. In my head, I'm like, I mean, the team should lead me.
Calm down.
So it was a lot of work, but the fact that to me, it felt like an adventure, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. If I die, I die. And the pay was good too. So.
It's that pay part there. Yeah. Like the fact that you didn't take it out of it.
I know, but it was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
And it was a battle to lead number, I swear. See my head of design was here. He didn't want me to go.
Yeah.
He said I should go and research.
I feel like the thing you talked about, it ties back to the whole conversation of passion and money. Which one gives you the biggest motivation? But that one is a conversation for another day.
Yes, let's not talk passion and money here.
All right. Then the other part, you talked about how it's a new terrain, especially compliance.
Yeah.
Was that the only technical, or let me put it this way, was that the only challenge you had, or what are the other challenges you had?
So it wasn't the only challenge, but the fact that it's a new, the fact that it was a new adventure alone was okay for me. I'm an adventurous person. So let me tell you why I'm like this. No sane person leaves a 5-year career to a new one. No sane person. I left that behind to start from scratch. Bro, I was a star boy in marketing too. It's not like I was a small boy. I'd done pretty good. But the fact that I can go into a place and I can start all over again and I can build from it, it amazes me. So I'm always interested. Now, it's not to say that I didn't get other jobs that I pursued that were not exciting, but this one was very much exciting because trust me, I'd really never thought about trade. I'd never heard about anything called trade finance before in my life. I've never heard about treasury management before. I've heard the word fintech. Everybody here have heard fintech, but imagine someone telling you about how, as a business, you can see your account across all the world in one view. In my head, I'm like, from a design point of view, it's interesting. From a regulatory point of view, it's a lot of work.
Yep.
You might not, it's crazy because you're dealing with a lot of APIs, both open and closed.
Yep.
The ones that you lobby and the ones that they would send you API that will not work today, that will work next tomorrow. So it was fun, and I loved the idea of coming into that space and thriving. So yeah, I jumped on it.
So the challenge drove you actually.
It drew me.
Okay. So let's talk about culture, right, and values. Right. So let's talk about the design values that you're cultivating at Multigate. And in the world of complex APIs, abstract products, or let me say invisible products,
Okay.
right? And complex financial system. What are the non-negotiable principles that your team lives by, right? Is it clarity over cleverness, or is it trust over transparency, or trust through transparency?
So let me just make a point. There's no invisible products. It's just that people are not seeing it. So there are two different things. The product is there, but the people that need it are using it. So this is not the market exactly. But yeah, I think for my team, and I'm happy that some of my members are here, and I know how much we fight, because if there's one thing I have learned in this industry that I am in.
See, that's
Oh yeah, so there's a book
it's
here.
testifying to that.
If there's anything that I pride in, is the fact that I can ask you something 10 million times. It's not because I'm stupid. It's just that I want to be sure that what you are saying is what you are saying. Because it is very easy for everyone to use design as an excuse. I promise you. It's easy for engineers to use design as an excuse. It's easy for product managers to use design as an excuse. It's easy for QA to use design as an excuse. And we are in an industry where you cannot make mistakes because we are moving so fast. And not everyone has the time to go back. So if you make the mistake and it goes live, I want you, bro.
Money.
See, aside even money, it tells on you as a leader. It tells on your competence. It tells on how they value you. And I always tell them, clarity is key. Like, I don't care how many times you need to ask that question. If you go ask the question, you'll be tired. But I do not fight him because I know that at the end of the day, it needs to get context. So that's one thing that I do not trade. Secondly, I always tell them, as much as you're obsessed with your design, be obsessed with the customer. That's key for me. Do not ever come to me with a design based on your gut feeling. Don't. Maybe some years ago, yes. Now, no. Like, tell me that I have designed this, but I have gone to Kenny and I have asked Kenny who is compliance, can this fly? And I have gone to the FX guys to ask, can this fly? And I have gone to the PM to ask, can this fly? Because as far as you're designing, you're not designing for me. You're designing for everybody. Not just me. So it cannot just be how you feel. It has to be based on feedbacks. And because we do not interact with the users directly, because it's B2B, nobody would have the time to come and see. Unlike B2C, you can do focus groups. Bro, how do I tell a CFO, come and enter focus group? It does not have the time. The only time they come to you is when they have a problem. Which is why in B2B, you're building incrementally. Unlike B2C, where you can wake up this day and then you want to vibe build one feature because it's sweet. In B2B, you can't do that because you're creating for a client. The client uses it. Tomorrow, the client goes to Albania, sees something, comes to you and tells you, you guys need to do this now. It's your paying client. Everybody will come back and do it. There's no time for fancy features. Do you get? So clarity, feedback, and I think the third one is trust. If I don't trust you, I don't want to work with you. And which is what a lot of us lack. When I try to hire, so the last person on the team was Noel. And it took me about 6 months to get Noel. Remember, I have had interviews with a lot of people, very good people. Like, I mean, very, very good. But one thing a lot of people lack is integrity. Designers lack it. Integrity when it comes to time management. Integrity when it comes to expectations.
Don't lag it.
If I give you something to work on, and I ask you, how long will this take you? And you tell me 5 days. Because I know that I can do it in 2 days, does not mean I'll tell you, come back and no, it's 2 days. No. I will tell you, what's the best time you can give to me? If you say 4 days, I hold you by 4 days. If on the 4th day, you don't give me the design, I will ask you, why can't I get the design in 4 days? You're not telling me, my question to you is, why do you have to wait till the 4th day?
Communication.
And I have to ask for you to give me the feedback. They know me. See, this is not to boast. I don't have to be the best designer, but I can measure the time it takes to give me something. I can measure it. If I give you something on Tuesday, I don't give you anything else. They know. I don't put another work on your table because I am fighting your battle. I'm back to the PM and no, my team cannot do it. Keep it. The same way you do backlogs for engineers, we will do our own too, right? When we can, we will take it. So if I give you something to work on, I want to trust you enough to know that if I tell the PM to be ready in 3 days, because you've told me 2 days, in 2 days you give it to me. We can review together, mark it as checked, then get the PM to come on a call, and then we align. Myself and the PM are not aligning on the design. We are aligning on the user stories. Does it meet your criteria? But imagine on the 3rd day, it's not ready. Even the PM won't trust me. So you see that the fact that I can't trust you is not just even affecting you. It's affecting me. So those 3 things are not, I can't.
So I think the key takeaway for me here, and I think for everyone should be that as a designer, it's fundamental that you understand that the values that apply to you are values that apply to human beings. Like you said, clarity, trust, and communication, right? Those 3 things are very, very important. And they're not even important for just designers. They're important for everyone, right? So yeah, I think that's very, very important. Thank you. So this one says infrastructure is often invisible, right?
Not every time, anyways.
When it works well.
Yeah.
Like it's just seamless. So how do you design for that?
Which brings me back to where I'm at. Because Multigate is an API first company, it means that half the time we are like a bridge between the expectations of the customer and what is obtainable. So, unlike Airbnb that we all know, that is design-led, where design sort of like determines every other thing. For us, it's not that way. So the engineers go, start writing their backend schemas. Then we have like a sprint planning thingy, and then we're talking about it. And then you know that this thing that you people have done here, designing for this thing might require us having to change some components that we had built a while. But then there's the front end who is telling you that you cannot change because we are giving story points to this thing. We said the story point is 3. But you are saying you want to change components. We cannot go back and tell the Scrum Master that we want to... Exactly. So it now brings us back where everybody now has to come back to that table and then are looking for trade-offs. Okay, back end, we've created it. What can we now do? How do we tweak things? How do we ensure that everybody is fine? So for me, designing for that space means that I'm always on the table fighting for trade-offs. Because I can tell you for a fact that as fancy as your design can be, sometimes it never flies.
True.
Like,
true.
I mean, you could design something because you know that this is how it should be. Somebody on the back end is telling you that no.
Lie.
It's not like this. The data you're calling, so I can't fight for design in itself, but I can always go back and like, okay, so what are the things that we can give off and ensure that we can still create an amazing experience for our users? Because we know that our users naturally don't even care. So the people that use our product, they don't really care about how fancy your product is. It's more around how efficient is it. Do they derive joy at the end of the day? But even with that, it's not to say that you then create mediocre work, because our users are also well-traveled. So they go out, they see platforms like Gusto that are functional and have very amazing UI. So you have to ensure that you are in between function and utility and ensure that you're designing for both. So there's going back to the guys that actually do the work in terms of data, and there's you understanding where to draw the line. How do we iterate? How do we ensure that if we're designing with everybody in mind? Do you understand? So there's that going back to the table and having too many conversations. We don't have the luxury of just going and designing.
I think this feeds back to what I just said about it's very, very important that the engineering manager and the design manager are best of friends.
It's important.
Right. I've seen firsthand what not being best of friends can cause.
Bro, last week, one of the front-end guys called me. So I think my daughter had a little issue. So I was at the hospital. And he calls me. From his tone, I knew that he was angry that one of my guys designed something on transfer and some components has changed. In my head, I'm like, bro. I was mad. But at the end of the day, it's not my job to be mad. It's their job to be mad. Yeah, but that's not my job. My job is to find solution. And I asked him, okay, what do you want us to do? And he explained, and I called him. I said, go back to V1. We are not yet in V2.
I see.
No fight.
I think that skill is very, very important because, when you're working in an environment where, I just wanted to add this, if you don't have, I can tell you a story. So I had someone, the person is a design leader, and it was basically dealing with engineering managers and SVPs. Now, one of the things you also need to understand when you get a management position is politics. At that particular point, it's not even design, it's averagely politics.
Yeah.
And if you think that you can work in an environment without politics, it's a big fat lie. Now, my story here is this design manager was supposed to be the overarching person when it comes to design. And that sort of affected his ego a bit and was causing conflict between him and the engineering manager. Now, the engineering manager was reporting in to the SVP of engineering. And because of the fact that the SVP of engineering would trust the engineering manager more, he took his word. And because there's no dotted line management, the SVP engineering was reporting the design manager to the SVP of product and design. And because the SVP of engineering and SVP of product have a relationship, right, it was trickling down, even though there's supposed to be a dotted line. Eventually, it reflected in the person's quarterly review, and they put the person on PIP. Not necessarily because the person wasn't doing their work. The person was a great designer, don't get me wrong. But because the person couldn't manage the politics and the relationship. The person couldn't sometimes put their ego aside to manage the relationship. So again, like I said, when you get to a level, it is politics.
Crazy.
Politics and how to navigate things. You have to, like they say, you have to put your ego aside sometimes, right? So yeah, I think since we're talking on that topic, I just wanted to put that out there. All right. So you've answered this one. Going to the next question. It says that
Mo is saying last question. Mo, you don't like
last question.
You don't
Okay,
like us
no
being
problem.
here.
Last question. So this one is interesting. So I'll merge two questions. Can I do that? So maybe you can answer both at the same time. What is the most difficult challenge you've faced at Multigate? That's the first one. The second one is about communities, right? What do you think is the value of community? I know you've talked about that on one of our sessions, but maybe you can share with other people. What do you think is the value of communities and why people should be invested in communities? So two
questions. Yeah, so we'll cheat multiply.
Sorry.
So I think my biggest challenge. So I have had a lot of challenges at Multigate. Like I said, it's a new space for me, so I had a lot of challenges. But I think the first and the major one was when I joined Multigate. This might sound so stupid, but it took me 3 months to understand what was in Figma. 3 months.
I've been there, I promise you.
3 months because maybe I had an expectation of when I come in, I was going to see similarities in how design works from where I'm coming from. Some files might look the same, some logic might feel the same. But I came in and I was looking at imagine one feature having like 120 screens.
Yep.
And I'm going through it and I'm like, I've not seen this thing. I've never seen this component before. And I feel like one of the things that helped me settle in was the PM at the time. I feel like she understood my pain. You know, she told me, she said, if you need 6 months, tell me.
Maybe the person has been there before.
Bruv. So everybody on my team, if you come in, you will feel it. I tell them, once they come in, I'll be like, don't rush. Don't be in a hurry to design. I let you faff around. That's what I do. I'll give you access to all the files, play around at least a month or two, then give you something small to do to understand if you know what you're doing. So for 3 months, I couldn't because an agency was handling it. And this agency that was designing, when I spoke to the guy, he also told me that it took them months to pick it up. So who am I? So it was a big deal, but I'm happy that I had people who, funny thing, I always say, like, I think I've had one of the best CEOs in my life. I've worked with people, but I think my current CEO is like one of the best you can ever work with. He has crazy empathy. Like, he knew that it was a struggle, and he always tells me, I don't need you to impress me. I just need you to deliver on the job. So if you need time, communicate. It's okay. We'll get the agency to still be on for that 3 months while you take your time. So I was shadowing the agency for as long as possible. But bro, when I got the hang of it, I became like,
The domain expert.
we call darling. Did you get? So yeah, but another one was the onboarding, but I don't think we want to go into that. If you want to read about the onboarding, I'll publish a case study soon, very soon. But yeah, it was dark skin. And then the next question is how do I? So I think community for me is, this is community. The fact that we can be here as friends, as colleagues, as people who understand each other's pain and can relate, and we can win together, and we can be excited together, we can smile, we can feel. That's community for me. A lot of people here are connected because of sections. I do know some people, but because of sections, we became like super close and super knitted. So when I talk about community to people, I'm not speaking from a place of just numbers. I feel like I have one of the most amazing communities when it comes to design, because we're not a lot. We know past, maybe in Nigeria, we're like 50. And every 3 months, I take people out when they're inactive intentionally, because I don't want a community of numbers. I want a community where everybody understands that there's a collective goal to help one another and be involved. So if you're not active for 3 months, I assume that you have other things. When you're ready, you come back, you knock the door, we open it, put you in. And I see how we've thrived as a community. When there's a new job, there are jobs that people don't see online that we post in our communities, and they are super direct and people get it. There are things that we teach ourselves. There are accesses that we have to resources that people do not have. And it's fun, because I feel like community should be where you come into and your life changes. It's not where you just come into and everybody is just dropping unnecessary links that don't make sense. Which is why I decided that it wasn't about the numbers. Because the moment you begin to go in numbers, it becomes a marketplace. And everybody is just trying to get shit. So for me, it was come connect, come thrive, come learn. And I'm happy that we're doing that. And I think that's what community should be about. And let's party. Funny thing, the Nigerian community people, they are stressing me. The UK guys are traveling to Albania. But Lagos, they don't travel. but yeah.
When you talked about the fact that you had to settle in to understand the system. I had a friend one time, and I think that's also very important, because you had, like you said, you had a very, very good CEO with a lot of empathy. I had a friend of mine one time who joined a company, and their recruitment process was just 2 meetings, and then the third one, they put you in their system for 1 month. I'm not going to disclose the company. They put you in their system for 1 month and watch you fry. The expectation is that you're meant to try. Now, the person joined. The same way, still had a lot of screens to be looking at, a lot of products. Now, the design lead wasn't helping, wasn't always available to support, right? And 2 weeks down, the CEO was the person that was typically just giving tasks, was assigning tasks to the guy. The guy was confused, but he designed to the best of his knowledge, but it didn't work. So the CEO just assumed that the person didn't know the work. And after 1 month, they let him go. Right? And you would think that that person is probably not good at their work, but it was basically because the person didn't have as much support as they should have to fry. Right? And I think that's also a very good quality you need to have when you get to that management position. There are a lot of stories, a whole lot. Any final words, please?
Yeah, so let me just draw from that thing you said. Now, as much as I want to also say that the system didn't help in terms of onboarding the person properly, I think also as designers, we need to communicate. We need to speak up. See, you cannot be in a system where everything is confusing and you keep quiet and assume that they would understand where you're coming from. So you're in a system, somebody puts you in a file and it's not working. And you're trying to reach the head of design or the design lead and it's not there. Bro, come on, go to the next person. The CEO now is giving you a task. So it means that at the end of the day, the person with the most autonomy when it comes to your performance is not even your design lead. It's your CEO, because he's the one that's going to give you the task. Then go to the CEO and report and explain that, oh, I've been trying to get this guy for as long as possible. Because bro, that's another thing you need to understand in a workplace. As much as we have managers who care or who are supposed to be there to direct you, managers can also kill you. So it's two ways.
True.
Politics is, I think we need to talk about politics some other time. But see, you can have a manager that can take you from 0 to 100. And you can have a manager that can take you from 100 back to 0 with just one word. So you need to understand that it's important that when you come to a space, or you get a new job and you're struggling to understand what to do, and the person that you're reporting to is not helping, go to the next person. Build relationship with someone else who can stand for you when conversations about your performance comes up. It's very key. That's how you play organizational politics. It's not about your manager.
Allegiance.
Because half the time, your manager is just one person in that conversation. There is the head of engineering. There is the head of products. There is the head of marketing. There is, bruv, so why are you just relaxed? Final words. I love you all.